Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So, Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have the offers accepted if you're not viewing. Just be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff, guys. Good evening, everybody, from a hotel room. I'll leave it up to you to describe it, in Liverpool, where I am on the road this week, going all around the country. Tonight I'm in Liverpool. I was in Birmingham earlier today, and it's I had no idea when I booked it. You know, when you just book a room quickly online, you book it, and then you get here and go, what's going on in here? And there are lots of suspect, telltale signs of the kinds of things that go on in this room, but I'm not going to go into that. I might have seen it on film somewhere once. Can't think where. Anyway, I am just actually relaxing with a beer this evening. So let's get straight into it. I think that can everyone hear me, by the way? Okay, because I haven't got my usual microphone, so I would love. No, it's not the Adelphi D. I can see the liver birds from the front of this hotel, not from my room. I'm going to get straight to the point. I think one of the defining things that I'm expecting to happen as a result of this budget, which will be talked about for years to come, is the number of buyers who are going to rush into buying in order to avoid the stamp duty increases that come into effect for anyone who completes after the 1st of April 2025, excluding first-time buyers below £300,000 who will still be exempt. And just like every single time that there is a stamp duty deadline, too many buyers get so fixated on just saving that stamp duty amount that they end up, number one, overpaying, and number two, regretting the fact that they bought at all because of what happens to the market afterwards. So, on the one hand, if you are buying a home to live in it and you want to get it done and over the line, and you have the chance to get it done before the 1st of April 2025, it makes all the sense in the world to do that. If you are a buyer who hasn't yet found anywhere but would like to get somewhere done and dusted before the 1st of April 2025, then if you find a chain-free property and you've got all your ducks in a row and your mortgage and your conveyancer and your property search map ready to go and everything lined up to make it an easy offer to accept, then you may well still, if you're really well organized and you find a chain-free property where the seller doesn't change their mind halfway through, then there's still a good chance for buyers like you to get your next place bought before that happens. But I think that everyone's going to get distracted by this 1st of April deadline, and there's going to be a little bit of a flurry and a rush, and conveyancers are going to get busy, and people are going to get frustrated. But the most important thing that everyone needs to think about is what's likely to happen in the housing market after that. Okay? Now, I don't make predictions, as any of you who follow me for a long time will know, but that doesn't mean I don't have expectations. And I do have expectations. And my expectations have now been reinforced by the measures taken at the budget, which I think are going to depress the economy, but in slow motion, because the worst of these measures doesn't come into effect until the 1st of April 2025. For example, the rise in national insurance contributions. Now, there are going to be winners and losers after the 1st of April next year. The best winners, the group of movers who I think are going to do the best out of this will be people who have a secure and stable job and are buying their first home for £300,000 or less. For you guys, it's going to be happy days, I think, next year, provided you don't overpay, because you don't have a stamp duty deadline. And after the 1st of April, the little rush that will happen will then die out, and there'll be loads of property in the market for other reasons. And I think you will have more choice. I think prices will be easing. I think affordability will be improving. And I think because you don't have a stamp duty bill to pay, and because the rest of the market does have stamp duty on their transactions, that's going to depress prices, and it will depress them all the way down. Now, at the bottom, they won't go down as far as they will further up the price range, because that's where most of the demand is, of course. But yeah, if I was a first-time buyer now, below 300,000, I'd be out there viewing. Definitely be out there viewing with all my ducks in a row. I haven't yet come on to what I think may or may not happen with interest rates, but we'll come on to that next. I would have my mortgage in principle ready, and I'll be out there viewing, but in no hurry. But I'd be viewing with the intention of offering on anywhere that I liked and wanted to buy, but only offering my maximum comfortable price. But I would not be worrying about getting it done fast, and I would not be worried about other people outbidding me in a hurry to get their purchase. Because don't forget that if you're not buying your first home, stamp duty will apply for all the way down to £125,000 and up from there. Okay, so it's not all properties below 300,000 will be exempt from stamp duty. It's only first-time buyers buying below 300,000. Okay, so everyone else who's buying their next home will be paying stamp duty on everything above the first £125,000 of their property. Okay, now this affects different kinds of buyers and different kinds of sellers at different levels of the market in different ways, and it's very, very hard to accurately assess everything that's going to happen. But generally speaking, it's going to have a depressive effect on prices. And a lot of people go, well, that's good news, right? It's good news unless you have to pay stamp duty, because it's bad news for sellers because they will receive less. It's indifferent for buyers because the price will come down a bit, but it'll be offset by the extra stamp duty you have to pay, right? Generally speaking. So I think there's a lot of buyers are going to rush into it just for the sake of saving a few £1,000s of stamp duty, and then they're going to live to regret it. What do they say? Get married, as I said this was Stig the other night, get married in haste and repent at leisure. Rush into buying your house in haste and repent at leisure. That's what it's going to be. Now, why do I think that? Why do I think this is why I think everyone should take a step back and not be rushed into anything, okay? Just don't be rushed into this big, big decision. The times, I'm going to talk about why I think the budget measures that I wasn't expecting to be as draconian as they are really, really going to depress the whole economy, never mind the housing market. Because the prosperity, which is what everybody would like, right? Wouldn't we all like to be prosperous? Wouldn't we all like to have a prosperous society where everyone feels like they're on the up a little bit? That only comes when businesses are prospering, when businesses are thriving, and when businesses are growing. That's the only time you get prosperity. It can't happen any other way. It's because you don't get any growth in the public sector. Okay, there's no growth from the public sector. The public sector is the public sector. That's that. You only get growth from the private sector, and the private sector is businesses, and businesses employ people. And what Rachel Reeves has just done is slapped a very large extra overhead onto almost all businesses from the 1st of April. And a lot of businesses between now and the 1st of April are going to be preparing for that extra overhead. They're going to be cutting back. When businesses cut back, it does the opposite of boost prosperity. Okay. I'll come on to the rental market. I'm going to come on to sales and rentals in a minute. Now, I'm talking in general terms, of course, and every single market in the country is different. Every market for every property is different. I'm talking about the macro effects on the housing market. So if you are a seller of any kind, there is nothing in that budget that's good news for you. Okay? If you are currently trying to sell, or if you are planning to sell in the future, planning to downsize, that just got harder. Generally speaking, if you've got a beautiful property and it's marketed at the right price, you'll sell it quickly, no problem. Okay. Excuse me. But for everybody else, it will certainly won't get easier, and it will probably get harder to sell. So we're going to see more property coming onto the market. I saw a video from an estate agent on LinkedIn today, and he's someone that's always criticized me for being too negative. And he was just going after the budget. He was just basically decrying how negative the budget is going to affect, how bad it's going to affect housing market transactions, not prices, but transactions. What is the source of house price growth? Well, government intervention, but actually there hasn't been any, thankfully. There's no new help to buy. There's no new government mortgage scheme. That's all just been left as it is. The only other source of growth in house prices is wage growth. And yes, minimum wage earners have received or will be receiving a pay rise in the 1st of April next year. I don't think that's going to be enough to move the needle on overall demand, because I think that the rise in the costs to businesses of the minimum wage bill is going to result in more staff being laid off. So overall demand will not rise. But those who are keeping jobs and getting higher pay, yes, there are some people for whom they will be slightly better off. But generally speaking, as a whole, the economy and society is going to get worse and worse off. And this is, as I've always said, right? I've said it all along since before the election, that this is what would happen if Reeves was the Chancellor and got into power. But even the Times, who did an article today, let me just show you what it said, right? This is important. This is today's leading article in the Times. The business betrayed. Labour is failing to deliver on its pre-election promise to stimulate long-term growth. Please let that sentence sink in. Labour is failing to deliver on its promise to stimulate long-term growth. Right. That's as I suspected, as I expected, as I feared. And the Times now thinks so too. Its fiscal clumsiness suggests a failure to understand how business really works. Yes, true. Right? So this is not just me being doomy and gloomy. This is the reality we now face. Okay? And that's from a newspaper that was supportive of the Labour government going to the election. And supportive of Reeves being a chancellor, amazingly. So, I'm just keeping one eye on the. If you've got questions for me, please make sure you put question in big letters in the live chat. Good evening, everybody. Ditchhead Leo, Carlos D, Yachek, Ratatouille. Hi there. Labcoat Tech, Clayton Jane, Chris Jordan, Alex. No, Stig is not with me. I would not be alone in a room like this with Stig. Stiggy will be making a guest appearance on Wednesday night's weekly Wednesday workshop at 8 o'clock. and we're also doing. Oh God, I haven't. I don't think I've done. I did one on Friday, but I haven't done one of these live streams since we did our first Charlie and Stig paid Zoom call on Wednesday night last week. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Thank you to those of you who came, and to those of you who didn't. It was an absolute riot. It really was. It went on much too long. I could barely speak by the end of it. We did a whole bottle of whiskey. Anyway, I'm being distracted. Sorry, being distracted. I'm sorry about the internet speed here. The Wi-Fi is so bad I have to use this as just a mobile connection. So in that video that the agent was doing on LinkedIn today, he was talking about how landlords are flooding the market. Now, yes, this is true. This is good news for first-time buyers when landlords are selling up. So I think if you are a first-time buyer hoping to buy, then actually this has not been a bad budget for you unless you are going to be paying above 300,000 or above 425,000 on a second home. Second home, you won't be first time buyer. You see what I'm saying, right? First time buyers, I think the reason that it's good news for you guys is because even in the stronger markets, I saw people today from Bristol commenting on how that even the Bristol market is really struggling. And that was one of the markets that was holding up better than the others. There was a story out today about central London properties falling over 20% in the last year. I didn't see the source data, but it was from a relatively reliable source that I know. So the prospect of house prices rising continue to get weaker and weaker, and I don't think we're going to see the full effect of this budget until, I mean, weirdly, 1st of April is the spring, isn't it, next year, which is when people are like, oh, maybe the spring market will pick up. Spring is when the hammer falls from the budget measures, and it's going to be horrible. So I think a lot. I already know of people who are completely rethinking their whole move plan now. First-time buyers, keep on out there looking, especially if you're under 300,000. It's going to be happy days for you next year if you've got a good job. Now, mortgage rates. So I don't know. There's a Bank of England meeting on Thursday this week. I think we've got the US election tomorrow. That's going to have a big impact one way or the other. No one knows which way that's going to go. I'm not sure whether they're going to cut rates on Thursday or not. I don't think they are, is my guess. And mortgage rates have been going up, and swap rates have been going up. So that's going to be putting buyers off because that's going to be making mortgages more expensive. So I just, sadly, every single thing that's happening, I see as depressing housing transactions. Even with will be a little bit of a pickup of people trying to get stuff over the line before the 1st of April, but that's not going to be a massive spike. It's going to be a bit of a pickup, and I worry that next year's market's going to go back to like 2023 was. I think for landlords and tenants, the rental market, I think demand is going to continue to weaken. Demand is still high for rental properties, but it's been weakening. I mean, from memory, I think Rightmove's figures were that there were 25 applicants for every property, and that's dropped down to 17, and it's continuing to fall. Now, I know that there are some places where rents are actually going negative and rent prices are reducing. I will do a video at some point about how if you're renting in a marketplace where rents are falling, I'll do a video about how you can go about renegotiating your rent down with your landlord, because when the markets go up, some landlords put their rents up because the market's gone up. When the market goes back down again, most tenants don't really know this, but you can renegotiate your rent down if you're reasonable about it and if the market has genuinely gone down. And I'll do a video about how to do that. No, Michelle, I didn't hear any for discussing the housing market today. What were they discussing? Be interesting to know. Yeah, Andy XTR says landlords are making £150 a month or breaking even after expenses. What's the point? That's true. More and more landlords are leaving, which unfortunately means there'll be fewer and fewer properties for tenants. But hopefully more tenants who are waiting to buy will be able to buy it as affordability continues to trickle in favor of first-time buyers. So maybe, just maybe, they were, Bank of England stats were. So, now, as far as what house prices are going to do, roughly speaking, I think that at the entry level, they will still stay fairly stable. There'll be regional variations, and there'll be variations between freehold and leasehold, but at the entry level, prices will still stay quite stable because of the extra demand from downsizers, as well as the normal demand from first-time buyers. And as you go up the scale, the price scale of property, I think house price falls will grow. Not only in absolute terms, but in percentage terms, they will grow the higher you go up there. I saw Otter Property, which uses land registry data, recently said that detached homes across the country, this is land registry data, detached homes on average are down over 10% in 1 year, in the last 12 months, right? And going back further than that, it's more. So this is reflecting the price falls I was expecting, not all the way down, and certainly not at the first-time buyer level, but at the higher level, detached house prices definitely have fallen the furthest of any property type. And I expect that to accelerate next year. Because as well as the budget measures increasing overheads for businesses, businesses are already struggling. And the business insolvency firm Kroll was on Radio 4 this morning, and they are expecting the already high level of business insolvencies to now accelerate. So we can expect to see job losses increasing, not spiking necessarily, but continuing to climb. We can expect to see mortgage defaults continuing to climb. We can expect to see forced sales continuing to climb. And therefore, we can expect to see prices at the higher levels falling the most. Now, if you are upsizing, that means that's going to, next year is going to be good for upsizing. Right. As you can tell, sorry, my eyes, I think my eyes as bloodshot as they feel. Oh, it's been a very long day. I've driven a long way today and had meetings. Do we have questions? Do we have questions? Dan Bancroft asks, when you say entry level, what price bracket are you referring to? Well, the entry level varies all around the country. I mean, recently I was talking about how if you're buying above 425,000 as a first-time buyer, you're going to be paying £6,250 more stamp duty as of the 1st of April. And I had this huge backlash from people all over the country going, no one's buying first-time properties at that level. And it can be hard. I mean, I'm up in Liverpool, and it feels like a completely different place compared to London and the South at the moment. And I get it. Up in Liverpool, in these areas, £425,000 gets you a large family home. But it doesn't in London and the South East. And London and the South East has got more condensed property. There's more property squeezed into London and the South East than anywhere else. Prices are higher. And for first-time buyers who are buying homes as opposed to flats, right? £425,000. I mean, I think the average first-time buyer in London is over £500,000. And in the Southeast, it's like £390,000. So, there are plenty of first-time buyers paying that level in the Southeast of England. So the answer to your question, Dan, is the entry level, I'm talking about first-time buyer level, whatever that might be. So in the Southeast of England, that's 350,000 and upwards. I mean, yes, there are places for less, but if you might get a studio flat for less, but if you're a first-time buyer looking to live as a family, then you're not going to be buying a studio flat. So it doesn't make sense to say, oh, but I saw properties for less than 200 grand in London. They're not homes, are they? They're just rental investments. So Fleshmorph reasonably asks, why is he filming from a brothel? It's another business. It's another line of it. No, I'm in a hotel in Liverpool. I'm in the James Street Hotel in Liverpool. Nick Weir says, what's the situation with bungalows versus houses and flats? Bungalows generally, I mean, it varies all around the country depending where you are, but bungalows are apparently, and this is only anecdotal, I don't have data to back it up, but they are in high demand as retirement downsizing places. So bungalows, I think I'm right in saying, are kind of outperforming other houses, as in semis and detached houses in terms of their prices. But flats, especially leasehold flats, are performing the worst in terms of prices, generally with regional variations, as I have to say every single time, because otherwise I get someone going, oh, but what you said is not true where I live. What I'm saying isn't true where anyone lives. I'm giving an over, it's like talking about national average house prices. It's meaningless at a local level, but that's all I can do. Hamstering around says, do you see any chance of entry-level houses in Manchester ever coming down? Well, tomorrow afternoon, I'm expecting to be with a prominent Manchester agent in Cheadle. I'm sorry if Cheadle isn't Manchester, but I'm close enough. I'll ask him that question. The thing that really struck me when I got to Liverpool this evening, and I come to Liverpool. I've been coming to Liverpool every year or two for the last 15 years because I've got clients here, estate agency clients here. And I've never seen it this busy. It's absolutely buzzing, and it's just a Monday night, just a casual Monday night. I've never seen it this busy. It has a real buzz and energy to it that I haven't noticed before. I don't know if Manchester's the same, but it feels to me as though there really has been a bit of an exodus from the south up to the north for people who just want to have a better cost of living and a better quality of life. Get yourself. I think that's how it feels. It really does. I've never once. I've been to Liverpool many times. I've never seen it this busy and vibrant. Boz47 says bungalows are sexy, bit like this room, hey, bit like this hotel room. The whole leasehold thing is a right mess. Yes, that's one of the big unknowns about the housing market is Labour's leasehold reform plans. They've made promises, but they're already backpedaling from those promises, which is making the leasehold reform campaigners look very disappointed. Darren Sullivan says, surely with Labour now in, they will want to push inflation up for house prices, grabbing as much of that inheritance tax as possible. Governments don't directly have a dial that turns inflation up or down, although there are plenty who argue that the more government borrows, the more government taxes, and the more government spends, that directly feeds inflation. Inheritance tax is a relatively small overall proportion of tax take. So I don't think it'd be worth pushing house prices up just to do that, because the more house prices go up, the more money it sucks out of the economy. Ratatouille 421 says, house near me in Cornwall, initially on at 400,000, reduced gradually over the last year, and now at 325,000, but still not sold. So that's an example of the mistake that most sellers are still making, which is chasing the market down. Imagine if they'd initially listed it at 350,000 right at the start over the last year. They'd probably sold it, wouldn't they? Now they're asking 325 and still not getting any offers. All right, guys. Do we have any other questions? What is this? Yeah. So upsizers, you're going to be okay. Downsizers, it's only going to get harder for you. Buy-to-let landlords who've been thinking about selling for a long time and are now thinking, oh, now I'm going to sell. I mean, most buy-to-let landlords because they don't want to hear negative news about the housing market. They've not been looking for it. And generally speaking, all the news about housing is it's all up, it's up, 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 and everything's up, and average house prices are up. And then buy-to-let landlords bring the house to the market going, why isn't it selling then? I can't sell my buy-to-let property. And they're coming on, and they're literally coming in with expectations 20% too high, especially for their tatty, tired, tenanted flats. So landlords who are late to the selling party are going to have a really, really bad year. First time buyers below 300,000, you guys, you're sitting pretty. Just take your time, get out there and look. If you want a home, don't wait. Always be out viewing. There's no point waiting ever. If you want a home and you're in a position to buy one, there's never any point in waiting. Always be out viewing, because otherwise you have zero chance of finding a house that accepts your offer. Yeah, downsize is not good. Upsizers, happy days for at least the next year or two, if you are upsizing. If you're moving sideways, as in relocating at the same value, that's just going to be frustrating, because it's going to be hard to sell. The cost and fees are going to be high. The stamp duty is going to be high, and the transactions are going to take forever. So moving sideways, rather not up or downsizing, but just sideways, that's going to be frustrating now. And that's where you've got to really, really, really choose a good agent. Do we have any more questions? Yeah, Patricia's makes a good point. Buyers feel bad offering too low in this country. I never understand this. I there must be something wrong with me, because so many people do it, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I hear buyers asking if are we allowed to offer? If you see a property that you like and you have a number in mind that works for you, it makes no sense to not offer that number, because you'll never know whether you would have got it. And sometimes you will. And the number of buyers who go, oh, but I didn't want to offend them. Nothing will happen to them if they get offended. They're just, people only get offended because they hear something that's painfully truthful. If it's not truthful, no one gets offended. Think about it, right? In any sense, if you throw an insult to someone that's just not true, they won't get offended, because it's just not true. People get offended when they hear something they don't like because it's too close to home and it touches a raw nerve. And so when you make an offer on someone's house and they say they're offended by it, what they're really saying is, we're just going through the process of managing our expectations and reality gap closer together, and you are the messenger who's made us feel bad, so we're going to say that you've offended us. But actually, if a seller is offended, that's their own poor expectations on price that might be done to them or down to their agent. But you're buying a home, and whilst you should never intentionally hurt someone's feelings, if you're making an offer because you'd like to buy the place and they don't have any other offers, make the offer. Do it in an email by the agent. And if you're worried about offending them, you just say, I'm well aware that this offer is well below your hoped for asking price, and I'm not expecting it to be accepted, but I didn't want to not make the offer just in case we might be able to do something. Just, if you word it respectfully, no one's going to mind. And the agent's you will get agents getting shitty about it, because they've then got to go to their clients and explain why they valued it too high. And so sometimes you'll get agents getting very, very ruffled feathers about it. Stan Reynolds asks, any value in going interest only on my buy-to-let when my cheap 5-year fix expires? There are many things that worry me about that question. So first of all, is there any value in it? Absolutely not. It's the opposite of value going interest only. The only time there's value in it is when house prices are doing what they did between 1997 and 2007, which is going up 20% a year for buy-to-let properties. Then there might have been, it still isn't any value in going interest only, because you're paying interest on a debt that you could be paying off. So there's never value in going interest only. Impossible. I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm not a financial advisor, but it's impossible to have any opinion on this when I don't know what your buy-to-let what your outstanding mortgage is versus what the property is worth, not what you think it's worth, what it's actually would sell for on the market. And I'm taking a stand that you're a landlord. And a landlord with an interest-only mortgage scares me because it makes me worry that if something goes wrong with the property and some serious maintenance is required, why would it make? I don't understand why it make any sense to go interest only unless the only benefit in going interest only is cash flow, right? But if you're prioritizing cash flow over value, you're losing money in the long run. Yeah, that's all with this. Andrew Dennis says, I offered too low on a house the other week and had a really funny conversation with the estate agent. I waited and they came back to me. Yep, they often do. Yes, if you are the only offer, they will come back to you. Oh, congratulations, Dan. You got your offer accepted. That's great. Okay, Leia. Exotic Doll says, will new build house developers reduce their price during 2025, do we think? I was going for a 250k new build next year, but stamp duty has put me off. I'm not a first-time buyer. Okay. I have to say, in this market, I would not be buying a new build. If I had the choice, if I had the option. Generally speaking, the build quality on them is shocking. And if you're buying them brand new, you're paying the showroom premium for them. You're taking an immediate hit on value. If it's really high quality and it's really well snagged and checked and it really is a dream place and you're going to stay there forever and you negotiate hard, then yeah, in those circumstances, I might buy a brand new build. Otherwise, I'd be looking at a recently built one that's maybe being sold for the first time, where there's going to be better value. But generally speaking, remember with house builders, they never lower the sticker price. They never lower the asking price. They always throw in all kinds of incentives to try and get you to pay that asking price. But actually, if you just stick to your guns, disregard the guff, make the offer you are comfortable making and no more, and leave it on the table, they will use every sales tactic in the book to make you think that you're going to lose it, you're not going to get it, there's someone else, and you have to offer more, blah, 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 blah. But then you just walk away, and as often as not, they will come to you and go, okay, if you don't tally one, then we'll sell it to you for that price. And then they won't register at the land registry for as long as possible so that no one finds out how much they sold it for. Any other questions? Chris Jordan on Facebook says, we had an offer accepted, but the searches have come back showing the house is in the highest level of surface water flooding, but low on all other flooding. I've submitted the question to the council and their auto reply state 21-day response. The house was in probate, so no one can remember it flooding. I'm not subject to a mortgage and really worried about why it's being flagged as high risk. So, first of all, Chris, I always advise people to listen to their gut feel. Just listen to your gut feel. Okay? Don't reluctantly proceed with the purchase that you've got to worry about where actually you're buying a problem that's going to turn into a problem that you're going to wish you never bought. Okay? Now, the other thing is on searches. Well done for getting searches. I would ask an expert, right? I would get just do your research and ask an expert. And the trouble is, it's insurance, isn't it? It's not being able to get the insurance. But property search packs are a really, really important part of the whole house buying and selling process. And on Wednesday evening, as well as Housing Stig, I've got the boss of the property search pack company that I work with to provide you guys with your search packs. He's going to be the specialist guest on Wednesday evening. And we're going to be talking about how property search packs, that no one really knows what they are, why they're there, why you have to have one, what it's for, are also usually one of the highest culprits in deals being delayed and deals falling through. And it's in most cases completely avoidable. And even if it does throw up a problem that means that you can't go ahead with the purchase, you often discover that information was delayed by your conveyancer for a couple of months because they wanted to get the fees for doing the work anyway, which is why conveyancers always say to you, oh, no, do the search pack later. But my conveyancers accept the fact that getting a search pack right at the start speeds the process up. Okay. If your conveyancer recommends you not buying the search pack until later on, I would always reject a conveyancer like that. I would say to them, listen, I want to buy one at the start because if there is an issue, I'd rather know now than at the end when I have to pay all of your fees. Also, anyway, so Wednesday night property search pack special Q&A, live Q&A with the search pack guy. There's lots of information you need to know about if you're buying or selling. So that's 8 o'clock Wednesday. But Chris, I hope I've been helpful with that. Right, guys, I'm absolutely shattered, so forgive me. I'm going to throw the towel in. Please make sure. So, if you would like to join my live, okay, I actually had a lot of new followers. So, a special welcome to all the new followers in the last week or so. My name is Charlie Lambden. This is Moving Home with Charlie, and I bring my 25 years of working behind the scenes as a technology supplier to estate agents and as a former estate agency Sunday Times Agent of the Year Awards judge. And having had hundreds of clients from corporates down to one-man band agents, there's not much I don't know about how that industry works. And I bring all of my knowledge from behind the scenes of that industry to you, the movers, to help you get your moves done faster. If you want direct access to me, there are many ways of doing it. One of them is joining the private live movers Q&A club, which every other Wednesday or 2 Wednesdays a month. In fact, it's this week, so the next one is 9:30, so it's after Wednesday's 8 p.m. live stream. There's a 9:30 private movers Q&A. It's like a Zoom call, right? It's unrecorded, it's private, and direct access to me to talk to your move. You also get guaranteed private message responses. And on that same link, if you want, you can join the Charlie and Stig Club, which is proving to be a lot of fun. So check it out if you want to have a look. In the description below, I've also put links to my conveyancing partners and my mortgage partners, because you should always have, whether you're buying or selling in mortgages and your conveyancing lined up in advance, so you don't get recommended to a duff one. And other than that, because I'm feeling increasingly rubbish, I'm going to say goodnight. See you on the next one. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.